Hello everybody, welcome to the Generic Happy YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. I'm Amar, otherwise known as Generic Happy, and in case you did not know, the Pokemon Company did air a new Pokemon Presents this morning for Pokemon Day 2025, and in that Pokemon Presents, we got a new look at Pokemon Legends ZA, including our first look at its gameplay. I did upload my reaction to both the Pokemon Presents and a separate video for just the reaction to Pokemon Legends ZA. So if you would like, please feel free to check them out in the description below. But in this video, I just want to talk a little bit more about the games because in the reaction itself, I wasn't really able to say too much because there was still a bunch of stuff that we didn't really know yet. And a lot of people started speculating after we saw the trailers, and there's some stuff that, we did learn from the website, which I will also talk about after this. But yeah, I'm going to start by just talking about the trailer first, because there's a couple things in the actual trailer that I didn't really pick up on when I was watching the reaction or when I was reacting to the trailer. And yeah, so let's just get right into it. I know this intro is kind of long, so let's just get right into it. Let us watch the trailer once again and see some of the things that I didn't really talk about or pick up on when the presents was happening. The first thing, obviously, when we're watching the trailer, they didn't include like the train segment, like the train station segment that they had in the first trailer or in the Pokemon Presents. I just thought that was kind of weird. But so here I was actually thinking about this, and I think I was more caught up in like the craziness of them doing two Johto starters over Unova, not over Unova, but instead of doing three different regions, so like a Gen 2, a Gen 4, and a Gen 5, they did two Gen 2s and one Gen 5. I was more caught up like the craziness of that happening than for me to realize that I don't know if these stars actually going to get Mega Evolutions anymore as their final evolution. I think I predicted that in the Pokemon Presents video, the Pokemon Presents predictions, that I think they're going to get Mega Evolutions. Now that there's two Gen 2 and Cyndaquil, it can't be included because it was the Arceus starter. Though I guess that might not even be real. Like the patterns that we believe Legends can fall into. But for now, it doesn't seem like Cyndaquil is going to get a Mega Evolution based on what we know. So it'd be kind of weird for Cyndaquil not to have a Mega, but Chikorita and Totodile to have a Mega. So I'm wondering if maybe they don't have any changes in their like final evolutions. It would be, I guess it would also be kind of weird if they get major changes in their final evolutions, because this is a game that takes place, for what we know, in the present or the future. So maybe they won't give a Mega Evolution, who knows? Or really anything different. Let's have to wait and see. The second thing, right on time, the battling. And this is something I do want to focus a lot on. I didn't really pick up on this. In the extended look that we got after this trailer, they did mention that the Pokemon battling system for Legends ZA is a lot different than what we saw in the past, including Arceus and the mainline games, or the mainline games that aren't Legends, because Legends is a mainline game, I do believe. But yeah, they changed it up, and something I just want to talk about, because this is really cool to me, is that they changed it up in a pretty interesting way that I think is really going to change the way that at least these type of games work. I don't think they can bring this into like the mainline, because it would kind of, in theory, mess up the competitive, because you're not just attacking anymore, you're also strategically planning where you want to move around when you're in a battle. Because like right here, I'm gonna go back a little bit, but right here we see Totodile move out of the way with the trainer so that the Tepig misses. I believe that's like flare wheel. But that's very interesting. That's very interesting to me, at least, that they're doing that. And I think there's like another clip right after this that I think in theory also shows that that right there, that showed that like the CPUs and the NPCs also can do that. And so I think that's pretty cool. Just in general, I think that's a pretty cool mechanic, and they do show it a little bit more later. So I just wanted to subtly bring that, not subtly, but just like bring that up because it's something that I didn't realize when I was watching either the extended look or the trailer. But now that I've seen it and I've been able to go back and like think about everything that the trailer shows, that's really cool. I think other than that, there isn't really much. Well, we just saw rolling to avoid attack is pretty cool. I'm not sure the Pokemon did that. Like, I'm not sure the Pokemon followed, maybe just follows you, but we didn't really see any new megas, but we did see that obviously the most, if not all the megas are back. I'm assuming all the megas are back. But the final thing the really trailer like really pushes is AZ. And originally I thought, you know, seeing AZ, maybe that means this game is in the past, just because it would make kind of sense. You know, we're gonna find out about, it's named ZA, maybe find out about AZ's origin story, like his full origin story. But it's not, I don't think it's actually gonna be like that. I think this is obviously taking place after what happens in X and Y, and we're finally getting like find out what happens to AZ, what happens to AZ's Floette, which we can see right here. Clearly, from what we see, they joined back together to run this hotel, and I think that's really cool. I think the one thing that Arceus was really good at was the lore. They dropped a lot of lore in that game. We found out a lot about what Sinnoh's past looked like, what Hisui looked like. You know, we find out about the new Pokemon. You know, they interwoven the new Pokemon really well as nobles. So yeah, and I'm glad to see them also going back and doing that with Kalos now. You know, it's just really cool. It's really cool to see our main Pokemon game this year is revisiting Kalos, and we're able to just learn so much more about the region and like about the history of the region. The one thing I want to say, I think I could probably let the trailer run out now because there isn't really much more for me. Oh, we see Zygarde there, but the one thing I do want to say, well, actually I could probably pause it before it gets to like the end of the video. The one thing I did want to say is that I think there's possibilities that the game maybe does flashbacks instead of going directly to like showing like you're playing in the past, just because I think they are going to want to explain AZ's story. They're going to show what AZ's story was, like his whole, you know, his whole lifetime, what the ultimate weapon was that he used, or in theory used. Maybe we'll find something about, maybe something different about that. You know, we don't know yet, but you know, just his whole story, what the Great War looked like. You know, I think we're gonna see some of that. Obviously, it's not guaranteed, but I think at least we're gonna hear about it. If not see it in flashbacks. So I'm glad that AZ's in the game. I think that's pretty much a given, being that obviously the game is called Legends ZA, you know, AZ, even though that's probably a Zygarde to another Pokemon. Yeah, so I was gonna say something else. I kind of forgot about AZ. Oh, it's really cool that AZ is also in this initial trailer, because I'm gonna go to the website after this, but it seems like they introduced a lot of the more important characters in this trailer. You know, the characters you're gonna constantly be seeing throughout the game. In this trailer, like you saw your rivals, you see a couple of the characters, you see AZ, you see like the corporation CEO, and like I think they're like a henchman. We have to look at it again, but I think those are characters that are going to keep reoccurring. So I mean, I think that does mean that AZ is also going to keep reoccurring in the story itself, which I'm really glad to see. You know, we'll have to see a little bit more about all the characters. Obviously, we're gonna see more about our character themselves if they come from a different region, because AC does run a hotel. So I don't know if maybe we're like visiting Kalos or Lumio City, and we want to obviously stay around, so we got a room in a hotel. But that's obviously stuff that we're probably gonna be able to speculate on for a fairly long time, because the game doesn't come out until fall of this year. So we still have a good amount of time to speculate on that stuff. The final thing from the trailer, before I go to the extended look, is just because we find out a little bit more in the extended look, is this. And I've seen a lot of people talking about this. I don't think we'll get an answer to what this is until a later trailer. I think we do find out what this is before the game launches, because they kind of did this with the second trailer for Scarlet and Violet, where they teased the Terra Crystals, and you know, we didn't see any of the Terra Crystals, but we saw a Pokeball like flying through what looks like the Terra Crystal area of the I forgot what it's called, but like in like the towards the end of the game, you also go to that Terra Crystal area. We see the whole Terra Crystal area in the Indigo Disc, and so I think this is like a little tease that we're gonna find out about later, a little later. From my viewpoint, I think it is confirming that we are going to be able to battle others through the online in the game, which would be really interesting. With Arceus, it did make sense that we weren't able to battle because the game takes place in the past. In theory, where you are in Hisui and are in history, you wouldn't be able to do online battles or anything like that. Obviously, these are video games, but you know, just historically, it made sense in the confines of what the game is. Being that we are in the present or the future, I think it also makes sense that now we will be able to trade online, which I think you could do that in Arceus, but now it makes sense you could battle online. You could participate in a promotion match announcement, and I think that's pretty cool. So I think it's gonna go through this system. Maybe the CEO that we'll talk about a little bit later controls this, like controls the system that we're going to be using for this. But I think that's just overall really cool. We'll have to wait again to see if it is online battling. They will definitely confirm it before the game launches. And I will mention a little bit more about Pokemon Champions, which they also talked about in the presents. They announced that here today as well. I think that maybe this has a little bit of a tie-in to it because the VGC may be moving to Pokemon Champions just because it seems like it's a little bit easier to do the battles in. Obviously, it does make it a little more interesting in the sense that we saw in the trailer that you could use Megas, you could use Terrestrializing. So, you know, in a sense, it combines all the mechanics from Gen 6 to Gen 9. In theory, obviously, we haven't seen Gigantamaxing or Z moves yet, but I think that's really interesting. And I think that's probably to tie in a little bit with ZA, that you can move your Mega Pokemon over to Pokemon Champions next year or late this year, depending when Champions is coming out. And you could just play. You can use your Mega Pokemon in that game. Because we will move to the extended look now while I'm talking, but it does make sense for Megas to now be involved in the meta for the VGC and in competitive, just because, I mean, you're making a whole game focused on Mega Evolutions now. You know, something we didn't get since 2013 with X and Y, and 2014 really with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And I guess we also got a Mega game in 2018 with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, because you could use Megas in that game. But this game is going to be focused on the Megas. We're going to get new Megas probably, and you're probably going to want to be able to use those new Megas, you know, once you get like in competitive. So I think Pokemon Champions coming out now does make a lot of sense. Maybe like last year, the year before that wouldn't have made too much sense because there wasn't really a reason to go back to the other mechanics, but now you can. Now you could go back to the other mechanics. You know, we're seeing Megas. Maybe in 2, 3, 4 years, we see an revisit back to Alola and we get the Z moves back. Dynamaxing is still pretty new in a sense. Definitely Terrestrializing is definitely very new as well. So we could see, you know, a lot of these mechanics also be used. And I think they're going to want to try to build around those as well, especially as we head into Gen 10. And, you know, maybe they all come back in Gen 10 and we can use them all in a mainline game for all we know. But I'm going to turn the audio on for this one just because we do hear some things. Obviously, this is an extended look and it's explained more about the game in the extended look. So, I don't know, this looks really good. I know a lot of people have been talking a little bit more about the visuals because it does look like they're using the Scarlet and Violet like engine of sorts, art style, but I think that they have definitely refined it from what we're seeing. There's definitely maybe some things that like definitely do look like Scarlet and Violet, you know, at least based on Scarlet and Violet. But I think the last year, taking the extra year, you know, between having, well, no, yeah, like we didn't get a game last year, so taking that extra year to work on Legends EA, I think made a lot of sense, and I think that's probably helping with the way the game looks right now. Because Scarlet and Violet, I personally like Scarlet and Violet's art style. I wouldn't say it's the best. I think Sword and Shield definitely has a better art style in a sense, especially like in its towns and everything. So, you know, I think refining it for Legends EA in a much smaller sense as well, because we're only staying for what we know in Lumio City. I think it makes a lot of sense, and they could build off of this for Gen 10, especially if the Gen 10 is for the Nintendo Switch 2, which we will see probably next year with the 30th anniversary. It does take place in Lumio City. See, like that looks really cool. Beauty, the Eevees. I get that's a Pokemon Center. Something I did not realize. We could also, I think that's probably alluding to Pokemon. We can pick up our items here. I don't know. It's really looking like this is going to be a pretty substantial game. In the sense that it's going to be connected to, I think, a lot of what we're seeing of Pokemon now in Scarlet and Violet. I'll let this run out a little bit more, but, you know, it's definitely a lot more, I think, a lot more relevant than Legends EA is going to, Legend Arceus ended up being to the future of Pokemon. Yeah, there you go. There's the answer. After you arrive to Lumio City to see the sights. So we're visiting Lumio City. All right. I got my answer. In case you did not know, I will be choosing Totodile. Just because I have a very fondness for water types. So Totodile is very cool. I like Totodile. But and here's what I'm talking about with like the characters. You know. So these are our rivals. Urban or Tawny. And AZ is right there. But that's what I'm talking about. Like these characters, your rivals are definitely going to be with you, or your rival. Maybe there's more than one rival. We don't know. We had multiple rivals in X and Y. But they're definitely going to be with you throughout the whole game. So seeing AZ here as well makes me think that we're probably going to be at least visiting AZ often. We're definitely going to be involved with the I don't remember how to pronounce it. Let's go back. Quasartico Inc. We're definitely be working with them to an extent. They do seem like they could be villains to a certain extent. You know, we have to wait and see. I think, I don't know. It's a little different now thinking about Legends Arceus, because obviously it makes a lot of sense that, you know, the Galactic team, you know, in that game, Galactic Corp, it did make a lot more sense that they would be, you know, a little bit hesitant to allow your main character into it and, you know, to work through it. So obviously, I'm not going to get into spoilers, but, you know, they have some issues with you in the game. I think this is probably a similar circumstance. Maybe we work with the corporation perfectly fine. You know, there's no issues with them, but they do seem like the kind of the villains of the game. Maybe they're relying like on the energy of the ultimate weapon, and we have to pull back AZ to come help us contain the ultimate weapon when you know, at the midpoint of the game or something. But I don't know. It seems like they're villains. You know, they look like villains. You know, so far we haven't really seen a character. I don't think AZ is gonna be the villain. I don't think your rival is gonna be your villain. So it seems like they're gonna be the villains. Jet and Vinny. Look at AZ. The different people you meet will make your time in Lumios all the richer. And then I think they actually go into the battling after. Oh no, we're going to the. And this is really interesting. I think in the trailer I saw that there was 8. I think there's 8. There's at least 8 sections. I think that's really cool. Obviously, with us being limited to Lumios, it makes sense that they would have smaller sections. You know, maybe this is someone's backyard right here, and in the backyard they have a Swablu, a Flaffy, maybe some other Pokemon, and you can just catch them. I'm hoping to a certain extent that it kind of also at some point breaks away from this, and you can start catching maybe one or two Pokemon in the actual city, in like your little area outside of these areas. I don't think that's gonna happen, or zones. I think they're called wild zones, but I don't think that's gonna happen. But I think it'd be kind of cool. You know, we see sometimes in the trailer that you can, like, you're battling with your starter, and it looks like it could be, you know, maybe a part of the city, but it also could just be in a zone that's very integrated within the city. Yeah, so I think the wild zones are pretty cool. We see a Fletchling here. They brought back the ability not to really need to battle Pokemon to catch them. We see a car right there. Chikorita's level 7. See Flaffy. And this is we're kind of seeing the battling here. It doesn't make it turn based. You're going quickly through your attacks. Here. So it seems like it's very, at least, seamless. Like, you're just gonna be able to choose your attacks as fast as possible and just continue to attack. And here it is. This is crazy.
Moves can have a longer or shorter reach, or different areas of
I think that's interesting,
choose your timing and positioning
because it's more of like an action game at this point, because obviously I think there is still some turn-based mechanic here where maybe you can't attack like 4 times or something before your opponent attacks you. But you know, we saw here that to protect Hippowdon used Stealth Rock, and Stealth Rock worked a little differently here, where the Talonflame probably would have been able to normally attack in like previous games. It can't now because this forms a kind of a defensive shield for it. I think that's really cool. We see like the thing up here where we, like, the Pokemon that can see you, we can't really escape. I think that's pretty cool. You see right here, Pyro used 2 flamethrowers. Who knows what? I don't. We gotta see. But something I did realize is Rock Slide. Like, we just use Rock Slide. It's gonna take some time to reload, and that's kind of like an action game. If you play Xenoblade, that's kind of what it is. You're always attacking, but you could. These are like your arts are the, you know, they have to reload over a certain amount of time, and that's probably the case for most action games, or action adventure games. But we can also see that they also include the effective counters, or like if it's super effective, these attacks are super effective. So they're here. You can see that like that. Mega Ampharos. But I think that is roughly it. We know a lot about Megas. I just want to make sure. Oh, here. Your Mega counter, I guess you could say, it isn't for the entire battle. I think that's really interesting. Maybe it, like, you could use it once. It has maybe 4 turns, 5 turns, and then you have to let it reload or refresh. You know, get back to where it needs to be so you can Mega Evolution again, Mega Evolve again. But that's different than what it was in X and Y and Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby and Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, because again, you can't keep your Mega for the whole battle. I think it's really cool. Again, it definitely plays into this more adventure, action adventure type of game, RPG adventure type of game, where all your attacks are like having to refresh, or, you know, it has a countdown, or like a countdown of sorts that it needs to like get to a certain point where you can just you can do that attack again. That's also applying to your Mega counter, and I think that's pretty cool. You know, it's not really much more I can say about that, since we don't really know too much. Dedenne, Swirlex. But I think that's it. Yeah, the game's coming out late 2025. I was kind of surprised about that. I was kind of expecting it a little earlier, just because I thought maybe they would do you know, they revealed the game early enough that maybe they did it that way so this reveal could have been a little more substantial, and then they could have the game out maybe by like June or July, and you know, constantly do trailers throughout the rest of the year or up to launch. Which, because they're definitely gonna be doing trailers throughout the rest of the year. Okay, so on the website, we can see the trailer here. I think it's, yes, it's definitely the same trailer. But we see a little bit more about the game itself. So here we can read that you could visit Lumio City. The story is set in Lumio City, where an urban redevelopment plan is underway to shape the city into a place that belongs to both people and Pokemon. Compared to Lumio City, as it appeared in Pokemon X and Y, the Pokemon X and Y games released in 2013, more greenery now adorns the city alongside facilities with a cutting edge feel. This definitely speaks to it being a future game. I think definitely, at least the past. The future is somewhat likely, I believe, to a certain extent. Like, you know, they're comparing it to the X and Y because it's gonna look different, but it's also gonna be evolved from X and Y. I think that's really cool. In Lumio City, spaces frequented by people, such as shopping arcades, cafes, and restaurants, coexist with more natural areas, such as waterfronts and verdant parks. At the center of Lumio stands Prism Tower, the very symbol of the city. And so, I think, obviously, like, we're not gonna be able to catch Pokemon in, like, the shopping arcades or the cafes, but I think the natural areas, like the waterfronts and verdant parks, is what's speaking to where you're able to catch Pokemon. You know, but it's gonna be really interesting because we're definitely gonna be seeing Pokemon like roam around, fly around the non-catchable areas. So that's what I'm kind of speaking to. Maybe there's a chance we could also catch some Pokemon in the actual city, but you see some screenshots here. I don't think we can really zoom in it, but we see Bidoo, Patrat, very cool, very cool. You know, this is like the shopping area. I'm hoping we can go into these stores. If there was like one thing I did find a little weird with Scarlet and Violet, we couldn't go into the store. We couldn't really see much. So I'm hoping at least if they are using the basis of Scarlet and Violet to build this game, they did at least change that a little bit. Especially like in a much smaller area. I think going into the stores would be a little more immersive. You know, in Scarlet and Violet, it did make a little sense that we couldn't go into the stores. You know, there's such a huge area. It probably takes a lot of time to do all the stores and create all the stores. But in Lumio City, you know, I don't know how big the game is. Maybe it's as big as Legends Arceus. But I think if you're able to do that and you're able to build out some of the stores, maybe not all the stores, but some of the stores, I think that could really be helpful in the immersion into the game. So it says right here, the story begins with a sightseeing trip to Lumio City. While visiting Lumio Cities during your travels, you'll come to stay in an old hotel named Hotel Z. This hotel will serve as your base as you and the new friends you'll meet in Lumios tackle all sorts of incidents that occur in the city. See, that's very interesting. That's very interesting to think about. Wild Zone habitats for wild Pokemon. As part of Lumios's urban redevelopment plan, driven by a large corporation called the Corsico Incorporated, the city has been outfitted with wild zones in an effort to help humans and Pokemon share the city. These areas are constructed using cutting-edge technology to give Pokemon places to live. Within wild zones, you can battle your Pokemon and catch them by throwing Pokeballs. I wonder if this is actually going to be like a major thing in the story. Like halfway through, the technology like stops working and the Pokemon like just start roaming around the city and people get scared or something. I don't know. I think that'd be kind of interesting. It kind of what happens also in Legends Arceus. Like the Jubilee Village is scared. Like they're scared of Pokemon. A lot of those in Jubilee Village are scared of the Pokemon. Maybe some people in Lumiose are scared of Pokemon, and you know that's like a mission of sorts. Maybe that's a story mission where like you have to like rebuild these barriers, these technological barriers between the city and the wild zones. Make Pokemon your allies. You can catch wild Pokemon living in wild zones or out and about in Lumio City. All right, there you go. I got my answer. You can catch them if they're in the city as well. I didn't read most of this beforehand, so it's kind of exciting to go back and read some of this. You can catch wild Pokemon living in wild zones or out and about in Lumiose City by aiming a Pokeball at them and letting it fly. If the Pokemon doesn't pop back out of their ball, you've successfully caught it. Some Pokemon will flee immediately if they spot you, so hide out of sight or approach from behind to make yourself harder to notice. You can also battle Pokemon to lower their HP, making them easier to catch. So that's definitely something we got from Legends Arceus. You can catch Pokemon without needing to battle them, which is very cool, very interesting. I'm glad they kept that. A Pokemon series first. Pokemon trainers take action in real time during battles. In previous titles in the Pokemon video game series, Pokemon took action once per turn. In Pokemon Legends ZA, trainers and their Pokemon will move around in real time during battles, and Pokemon will unleash their moves when their trainers command them to. In addition to the type matchups, there will be new gameplay mechanics to consider, such as precise timing for swapping out your Pokemon. I didn't think about that. I did not think about that. You're gonna definitely be able to. We can see it right here. That's actually really interesting. You know, if the opponent sends out a Pokemon that might have a super effective attack, you want to immediately switch out. Or maybe it has a long range attack and you see the long range attack, so you can't really like stay too far away from the Pokemon and you can't really get that close. Wow, that's actually really interesting. Okay, let's get back to it. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but such as precise timing for swapping out your Pokemon or using moves, the different lengths of time moves will take to launch, and how big an area the moves will impact. This unprecedented style of Pokemon battling is one of the most thrilling parts of this title. I agree. That's really, really exciting. I didn't really think about that. You know, definitely you're gonna need to switch out your Pokemon. Like, you're gonna need to plan. What Pokemon is that? I think that's. It says it right here, but I can't really see it. Zoom in. Let's see if it'll allow me to zoom in. Not really, but that's a Talonflame. Okay. Pokemon and trainers. Your character. We see our two main characters here. They got very cool shoes. They got very cool jackets. They got very cool fedoras. They got very cool Pokeballs. They got very cool bags. They got very cool designs. You see them right here. Very cool. Very cool. Introducing the first partner Pokemon. After arriving in Lumiose, certain events will lead you to befriending a Pokemon that will become your adventuring partner, thus beginning your journey as a Pokemon trainer. Which Pokemon will set you off on your adventure with? Which Pokemon will you set off your adventure with? Chikorita, Tepig, or Totodile? As I mentioned, Totodile will be my choice. We see some screenshots here. They just seem like normal descriptions of the Pokemon. So I won't read them, but you know, Totodile is very cool. Tepig is very cool. Chikorita is very cool. Very, very cool. Meet people and Pokemon in Lumiose City. Urbane and Tawny. You'll make a friend who lives and works at Hotel Z, supporting the owner however they can. They may come on strong at times, but they like helping people and Pokemon. They're quite skilled at Pokemon battles too. The appearance you choose at the beginning of the game will determine whether Urbane or Tawny will appear. So whichever character model you choose between those two, you'll get the other. I'm assuming you probably get the the opposite, on the opposite side of the right there of the pentagon. Is that? I think that's a pentagon. Another pentagon. AZ is a man who stands over 9 feet tall. I'm hoping we see that in the game. I'm not sure you can really see that in the trailer. I think maybe you can. You can definitely see he's tall, but 9 feet tall? Maybe because he's using a cane. He's not standing up all the way. AZ is a man who stands over 9 feet tall. He's the owner of Hotel Z and claims to be 3,000 years old. Claims to be? He quietly harbors a strong determination and will. Let me see his Floette right there. That's pretty cool. And we get information about the Floette. Eternal Flower Floette. This unusual Floette looks different from other members of her species and holds a black flower. She's also said to have lived for 3,000 years. She always accompanies AZ. And see, that's something I want to learn about, because we kind of know that that's not really true. At least in history, obviously, because, you know, with the ultimate weapon, Floette and AZ had some sort of disagreement. And so we don't know we know that's not true for at least some specific amount of time. And I would love to find out. Just to see that play out in like a flashback or something. I think that'd be really cool. We have Jet. Jet is the CEO of Corsico Incorporated, a large corporation driving Lumios's urban redevelopment plan with the aim of shaping the city into one that belongs to both people and Pokemon. It seems she helps to deepen the bonds between Pokemon and people. That's very true. Vinny is a large man who wears sunglasses. That's very true too. He works at Corsico as Jet's secretary. He always seems busy and has a reputation for being a fast worker. And then we didn't really, we saw a thing of Zygarde. We saw like a clip of Zygarde at the end of the main trailer, and that's 10% form Zygarde, but we didn't see the other two. Obviously they're going to be in the game, but in case you did not know, Zygarde is made up of a multitude of cell-like components, and it changes its form depending on how many of these components you have been gathered together. Its brain is made up of a few existing Zygarde cells, while the rest of its body is comprised of Zygarde cells, which are far more plentiful. Wait, Zygarde cores, or what makes it a brain? The Zygarde core. Zygarde cells are what's much more plentiful. It makes up its rest of its body. It seems to have taken a special interest to you. What could its connection to this story be? I would love to know. I'm assuming there's a Pokemon that's gonna try to defeat it. The A Pokemon. We'll have to see about that, but that's very cool. And then the Power Mega Evolution. We have a great sense of Mega. It doesn't seem like Mega Evolutions can be that different in the game. We have to wait and see. Obviously, it's gonna be different in the sense that obviously the timer is different. It doesn't last through the whole battle for all we know right now. And it's going to be a little different to be able to battle with Mega Evolutions just because it isn't turn-based. But we have to see. We see Mega Gyarados here, and then we have Mega Charizard X, Y, Kangaskhan, Ampharos, Gardevoir, Sableye, Altaria, Absol, and Lucario. And then we find that the game is releasing worldwide in 2025. And that's it. That is all that we have, that we know so far about Pokemon Legends ZA. I will visit the Pokemon Champions website just because, as I mentioned earlier, I do think this is going to play some part in how the future of Pokemon does work in terms of the competitive. Just because, actually, I haven't really. Okay, there's only one section on this website, but I'm assuming this is where most of the VGC battles are going to happen now, just because it includes all the mechanics. I'm assuming all the Pokemon will end up in Champions. Maybe not at launch, but definitely at some point they're gonna, since they use home, they're probably gonna use some of the home models. There's definitely at some point we're gonna be able to just use Pokemon Champions for main battling, and maybe just, I know this is kind of a stretch, but I've seen it speculated before that maybe they're just gonna move the Game Freak games, the mainline games, just being story focused only, and then just having a game like this, like a Battle Revolution type of game. This still seems like it's pretty close to Battle Revolution. Take over like the competitive and the battling aspects of Pokemon. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty interesting. We'll have to see how that works out, but these are our two protagonists, our two characters. I will definitely be trying this out when it launches. I have a lot of fond memories of Pokemon Battle Revolution, so I think it's really cool that they're bringing something like it back. But we have to obviously see how it works. We don't even really have a time frame for when it's coming out just yet. So again, we have to wait to see how it works. We got to see how, just generally, how, I don't really know what to say, like what exactly I'm trying to say here, but how the battling works in it. Like, it does seem like it's gonna be turn-based, and maybe them changing how ZA is working in terms of battling is also what's kind of pushing this, because in Generation 10 maybe we have a different form of maybe we don't have turn-based battling again, and we have something like closer to what ZA is doing now, and they do maybe something different with battling in every single generation. But yeah, that is all I have for you all right now. I just wanted to summarize somewhat all the information that we have gotten about Legends ZA. I am very, 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 very excited for this game. You know, the trailer showed off a lot. There was a lot to digest in the presents, so I just wanted to record a video, just, you know, summarizing some of the things I didn't really know about. Maybe some of you also didn't know about it. And yeah, so I will like this video, this extended look. I'm assuming, yes, this probably has more likes at this point than the extended look. No, it does not. That's pretty interesting, because that's the main trailer. That's interesting. Yeah, Pokemon Champions, Pokemon Legends EA, very, very exciting time to be a Pokemon fan. I'm thinking Pokemon Champions probably does release this year. It might even release before ZA, just based on they might want to have this be used at Worlds. As I mentioned in my predictions video, it seems like they're gonna be, at least especially now that we know that Legends ZA isn't coming out until the end of the year. I don't know if they're gonna be able to use 2 years more of Scarlet and Violet based on the rule set that they're currently using. And so I think Pokemon Champions is definitely a good alternative, something that they could definitely move more towards the future. And again, maybe start moving the mainline games to be more just story focused, more cooperative, you know, multiplayer focused in that sense, and not really in terms of online battling. But again, we have to see. It's a mobile game and a Switch game, so we will see how everything works out. But that's all I have for you all today. Again, I just wanted to talk about Pokemon Legends EA more after the presents and everything. But yeah, that is all I have for you all again today. So I will see you all probably a little later. We'll probably have another video out soon about something Pokemon related. But for Pokemon ZA, we'll probably see another trailer in around June, May or June, depending on what we get. Well, actually, no. Yeah, definitely. We'll see a new trailer in June. Maybe a new presents as well, but we have to wait and see on that. But yeah, that's all I have for you all today. So I hope you all are doing well and staying safe. Make sure you do make sure you're happy, because I'm Generic Happy, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Pokemon Legends CA is coming out soon at the end of 2025.